The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Monday, April 9th, Tuesday, April 10th, as we kick off a new week. And if you're on the East Coast or across the pond, we appreciate you taking the time, staying up late. This is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, live in the Great White North in the Caribou region, on top of the snowy mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on SOR's radio network, which includes WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, and be sure to check us out on The Fringe FM. Yes, all you do is go onto your computer, type in thefringe.fm. We are right here, right now, right with you. You can find us every Monday through Friday on periscope.tv. Hello, everyone on Periscope. Good to have you with us. We can also provide you with our archives. They are free on our YouTube channel. Just do me a favor and subscribe to it. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for all of our great historic shows. If you head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, you can do a little shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store. Read up on the encounter online, dealing with everything paranormal, strange, and odd. Check out my latest blog there as well. We also got great videos from UFO seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. We welcome you all to tonight's show. It's going to be one of those shows where I have no idea where the direction is going, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Because, life can be strange and weird at times. Some of us wonder what's coming next around the corner. Some of us have success while the rest struggle to succeed. Some live very normal lives while others, like our guest tonight, live in a world of high strangeness, where it's all they've ever known. Alan Wright has been what he calls a passive medium his entire life, and we're going to get him to explain that in just a little bit. Born at a time when, through his Christian roots, talking to the dead wasn't considered very normal, shall we say. Alan's grandmother and mother were clairvoyant as well, and would have dreams about things that affected them or their families. He inherited those things, plus other abilities. Alan's wife encouraged him to write a book about his life and experiences. Alan is an empath, sensitive, and a healer as well. He finds his abilities intensifying with age. He's written 4 books, the latest called Roads Less Traveled, A Life Story. Alan, welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight, my friend. Good to have you on with us. How are you?
Just fine there, Dave. How are you?
Very good, my friend. We are very good. You're coming in just a tad hot, my friend, so if you can move the microphone away just a tad, that would be wonderful.
How's this?
Little bit better. Good to have you with us. So, Alan, I want you to introduce yourself to our audience here because, we have a lot of guests here, and we always like to have our guests kind of introduce who they are. What got you into this field, being a lifelong experiencer? Was this something that was just very normal for you, starting from childhood on up?
Yeah, I was pretty much born with it. As you said, my mother, my grandmother, and I believe my great-grandmother were all had the same abilities as I do. And they used their dreams and whatever for the benefit of their family. And I remember when I was a small child, hearing some of those stories that were told by them. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. I was born in 1949. A good time, I guess. But I had these things, and I didn't know I was different until I started going to school. And when I went to school, I decided that it would be best for me not to tell the other kids and people that of these abilities that I had, of the dreams that I had, and that stuff, because back then I would have been criticized or made fun of by the other kids and stuff. So I just didn't tell anybody. I'm pretty sure my mother knew, my grandparents knew. The reason why my grandparents knew is because I had a dream as a small child, and I saw this lady dressed in a black dress and a white collar, and she was in a casket, and she had snow white hair, just pure white hair. And I didn't know who it was, but I know she was dead and she was in a casket. So one day I was over at my grandparents' place, and I saw a picture on the mantle, and it was this lady, and she had the same black dress and same white collar. And I asked my grandmother, who that woman was on the mantle in that picture. And I was told that was my great-grandmother. Now, she died in 1947, so she died 2 years before I was born. But I seem to have like a connection with her also. It's kind of strange, but I do. Anyway, as I get older, like you said, my abilities become stronger and stronger. I like to call them abilities rather than gifts. Sometimes, gifts is, it's not really a gift. It's when you give somebody a blessing to heal them and they die, that's not really a gift. It's my abilities is what I call them. But as I got older, I even had some astral projection things that happened to me. I went and saw my grandfather after he died in 1982. First part of 1983, I had this astral projection where I went and saw him, and he was in a place that was very good. And I think the reason why I had that was because I didn't know where he went exactly. I was wondering if he was okay. I was wondering if, if I was going to see him again. And he was a father figure to me. He was more of a father to me than my own father was. We did things together. We went fishing together. We took trips together. And he was a very good man. So anyway, when I went on this trip or this astral projection, I realized then that he was in a very good place. That was about when I was 30 some odd years old. And from there, it just got stronger and stronger. My abilities to heal people seemed to have taken effect. I found, though, when I heal somebody, the blessings only take on about 50% of the people. And the same way on animals. I give pets blessings also when they're sick and stuff. But sometimes, well, most of the time, it's only about 50% that actually the blessing takes effect. And a lot of that, I think, is if you're going to die, you're going to die, if it was meant to be, And it doesn't really matter how many blessings I give. If it's your time, you're going to go. Just a year and a half ago, I had a astral projection. This time, I was called into a place that I call hell. I call it hell because it's probably the perfect projection, or something that would be called that by a Christian. Maybe somebody else with no religion or whatever would call it something else. But I found myself in this place on a dirt path, and it was very dark, very, very dark. I could barely see my hand in front of my face. And I was walking along this path, and I knew I was called there by a spirit, but I didn't know who, and I didn't know why. And I looked up to the left of me, and there was these buildings. And the buildings looked like they were empty, and there was no lights in them. And the same way on the right-hand side, there was buildings. They looked like apartment buildings, but there was no lights. Again, they looked empty. But I could see close by these people. They were behind walls and behind these buildings. As I kept walking along, I realized I had 3 or 4 of these spirit behind me. And I realized that the spirit behind me was what I guess ghost investigators would call shadow people. And I was beginning to get a little bit fearful because I didn't know what they were planning on doing. But I guess really they were more curious about things than I was. But anyway, off to the right, there was this spirit that was behind this corner of this building. And at first, he was motioning for me to come closer. And I did. I went down the path a little bit further, which brought me closer to him. And then I walked over to the edge, which brought me closer to him also. But he wanted me to come closer. And I refused to go anymore. And I told him, I said, no. I said, what do you want? And he told me that in the gist of the conversation, I picked up that he had murdered somebody, a guy in this physical life, and that he was fearful that this guy was looking for him now since he's dead. And that's the reason why he was hiding behind this building. Now, this place, I didn't really fully describe it. The air is filled with regret and hatred and all the negative feelings that you can come up with, this place had. And he had a lot of those feelings. He had a lot of fear in him, and he had hatred. And anyway, I knew him from when I used to give his wife blessings uh, when I lived in the part of town where she lived. She had a mental condition where she had headaches, and they got pretty bad where she could not perform her duties and stuff around the house. She would call, and I would go over and give her a blessing, which would sometimes do away with the headache completely, or at least relieve the pain where she could function. But this guy was her husband, and he did not like me at all. He wouldn't say anything to me when I came over, and I could tell by the looking at him, he thought I was some kind of crackpot or something. But he would let me in, and then he'd go in the bedroom or into the kitchen or bathroom, someplace, wherever you wanted to go. But anyway, I found out that he wanted me to help him out since he was there in that place. I guess he thought since I helped his wife out in this life that I could help him out in his life that was where he was at. And I just flat told him, I said, I can't help you. I just can't help you. And about this time, the thing ended, the astral projection ended, or dream, whatever you want to call it. And I woke up back in bed. Now, when I went and saw my grandfather, when I got up the next morning with this astral projection, I don't know how long I had been with him. I went to bed, at my regular time. And when I came back, I woke up at my regular time. But I must have been in that realm where he was at for longer than that, because when I got there, these people that were there were my ancestors and my family who had passed on before me, and also some friends was there also. And later, upon coming back, I realized that they had told me things that I did not remember when I first came back. And that's one reason why my abilities are becoming stronger, I think, now. I was told that where they were at, it was very good. In fact, myself, I would have died to be there. It was beautiful. It was like the earth. There was birds, and there was trees and animals and insects, and the flowers were all beautiful and everything. And it was perfect, but it was more earth-like, Always thought heaven, when I was growing up, going to church was paved with gold, and mansions made out of gold and stuff. But there was none of that here. And I was told, or expressed to me, that this was when you die and you're a good spirit, or whatever you want to call it, you go to this place, and it's a place that I would call paradise, but it's not the only place. It's a temporary place. And as these people gain knowledge, they can move on to another level of this. Now, life is forever. That's what I was told. Life is forever. And it's eternal. And I was told if something is eternal, then there's no beginning and no end. So there was a pre-existence. Where we came from, I don't know. I wasn't told that. But this life here is just to prepare us for the life to come after this earthly life. We go through the hardships and the pains and the trials and tribulations, the illnesses, the wars, the rapes, whatever, the murders, but it's all done because I was told that the earth is fulfilling the purpose for which it was created. And if you stop and think about it, then the earth was created for the purpose of us bettering ourselves, making our spirits stronger. And when I asked about my family, it said that because of the choices that I made, that's where I was then. My family would have to go through the same trials and tribulations that I did so that they too could be in that place when it was their time to pass on. Anyway, in hell, when I was with this spirit in hell, um, I was told basically the same thing. The place where I was at like the beginning, the jump off point. And as those spirits in hell gain knowledge and correct the way I guess they think or the things that they were doing, they can move on to the next level, which would be better than what they were in before. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people mad at me out there for saying that because they listen to fire and brimstone and all that, but I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not really big on organized religion, but if your church or your religion is helping you to live a good life, then it's not bad. It's not bad. I was never asked what church I belonged to. I was never asked what religion I belonged to. I was there. I don't know how long. I could have been there with my grandfather for a month. I could have been there 2 months. I don't know. And like I said, when I came back, the only memory I had of being there was I felt like there was a glow about me. I felt like I had just stood before God. And the only memory I had was my grandfather and I walking along this path next to this meadow, and he was telling me things on this walk. When I got back, I was trying to remember what was said and everything, and I thought maybe he was just trying to tell me that I had to make some more choices, some good choices in my life. I had to better it. And I thought that's what he said, and I'm pretty sure that's what he said. But as I go on, I get these like flashes or I don't know what you want to call it, but flashes of intelligence or knowledge that comes my way. Now, it's not something that happens once a day or once a year or whatever. Sometimes I'll go for a few years before I have something else that comes my way. But I think I'm getting the knowledge that I need as I get older. Because if I was younger and was given that knowledge, I probably would not believe it, and I probably would not consider it. But as I got older, I realized what it was logic. It's just logical. You can't fight logic. You know, the scientists say that you cannot destroy energy. You can only change it. And our spirits are energy. When we die, our bodies is the only thing that dies. Our spirit lives on because it's energy. Now, does it change? I don't think it changed, because when I was there with my grandfather, he looked like he did when he was here on Earth. When he spoke, he didn't have to talk with his mouth. He used telepathy on me, and I could use it on him. We expressed our love for each other, and we never moved our mouths. I felt like I could still talk if I wanted to, the normal way, but I didn't have to. I saw my own death in this process. I was on a gurney, and I was looking down from the corner of the ceiling of the hospital room that I was in, and I saw a doctor and the nurse standing over me, talking, I guess, about me. And I looked down closer, and I realized that was my body laying there. Now, that kind of gives you a jolt when you see something like that. But as I was gathering my thoughts there, that's when I started going through the ceiling, up through the roof of this hospital, and then I could see the lights of the city. It was nighttime. And as I was going up, I was also gathering a high rate of speed. I was going faster and faster. As I got up into space, I could see the Earth, and it was blue, and it had clouds around it. And I could understand why one of the astronauts called it a blue marble, because that's what it looked like. It looked so much different than the other planets that's in our solar system. I kept going. At this point, though, is when I asked the question.
Wow, you gave us a lot to work on there already. What question did you ask?
Well, I was wondering why something so beautiful up there where I was at was so ugly down there on the surface. I was wondering why there was wars and rapes and murders and people cheating other people and doing the things that was being done down here. And that's when I was told that the earth was fulfilling the purpose for which it was created. And that's also when I was told that my family would also have to do the same things that I did to get to the place where I was at that time. So their spirits would be strengthened. Questions?
Well, that's pretty heavy to start off the show. I was just expecting a couple of lines for you to come on in, but I mean, all of a sudden you go from astral projection to shadow people to different levels of heaven and hell. I mean, man, you ran the whole gamut there, and it's very impressive nonetheless. But I want to go back and ask about the astral projection, because this is something I'm a little bit familiar with. I've never done it before in my life. I know people who do. In fact, there's a paranormal team in Washington State that uses astral projection to help people rid themselves of ghosts and demons and all of that, called Forest Moon Paranormal. Very good work that they do. I've actually had them at my house. Did you know you were astral projecting when it happened? What did it feel like to you?
No, I didn't know that. You know, like I told you earlier, that when it happened to me back in 1982, the expressions out-of-body experience, a near-death experience were just becoming popular, you know, and I heard about them, but that did not really fully cover what was happening to me. I pretty much called it a dream, but I realized that's not what it was. It was not a dream, but I wasn't near death. Even though I saw my death, I wasn't near death. And it wasn't out of body. Out of body experiences are usually earthbound and usually local. Also, I want to tell you right now is they have no time there where I went. Absolutely no time. They have no use for it. They have no... They really don't care about time. We wear our watches and look at clocks all day and everything. They don't worry about it. And I think it's one reason why they can go through time, any period of time they want to be on these different levels of heaven. I call it heaven. But anyway, I called it an astral projection. And the way it felt was, to me, was like a dream. But I could feel my body. I had my body, but actually it was my spirit. And my body was left at home in the bed when I went to sleep. And actually my spirit was projected to this place where my grandfather was at. You know, a lot of people say that when their relatives pass that they come to them. Well, I went to him. I went to my grandfather. And it's really hard to explain the mechanics of it. I know I went to bed, I fell asleep. Next thing I know, I was on this trip, and this trip was something else. I know I was going at a high rate of speed. I got into the realm of the stars. The stars are different colors. Then all of a sudden, as I was going faster, the stars became streaks, white streaks. And then after a while, I'm gaining speed all the way through this. All of a sudden it was black, total blackness. And then all of a sudden I saw that pinpoint light up in front of me. And I could understand why near-death experiences, they feel like they're in a tunnel. And that could be one expression that I could use, but I didn't feel a structure or anything like that. I just saw this pinpoint light in front of me in this darkness. And when I went into this light, it was love and mercy and all the good feelings that you want to feel. And as I started slowing down rapidly at this point, and this light went right straight through my body. It was almost like sticking a flashlight, big old huge flashlight, and you could see that flashlight on the other side because it would go right straight through you. And the love and the emotions that was inside this thing is not emotions. It was something tangible. Anyway, where this light was coming from was from this being. And I call this being God. And at least that's what was projected to me, that this being was God. Now, maybe to an American Indian or somebody else that was raised differently than I was, maybe it would be something else. But this light was coming from this being. And that's just before I got to him, I blacked out. And I ended up in a metal next to that forest that I was telling you about earlier. And as I was coming to, I heard the water. I heard water in the background, sound like a stream or a creek. I heard the birds. I heard the animals. I saw the treetops. It was high grass. High grass. Anyway, I stood up in this, and I stood up in a circle of people. And everybody in this circle was my friends and family who had passed on before me, as I said before. And but I was concentrated on my grandfather, who was standing right in front of me. The trip back, I don't remember the trip back because I just woke up in my bed, what I thought was the next morning. But like I said, it could have been longer than that because I don't know how I could retain so much knowledge in just a short period of time as what they gave me. I know you got fresh questions, Dave.
Well, we're all just kind of sitting back listening in on the entire story here. What does it feel like to astral project? What does your body go through?
Well, with me, I felt like I was like in some kind of capsule. I felt like I could maybe move out of that capsule, but I didn't have a reason to because you're going really fast. I wouldn't want to step out of a moving freight train as it was going light speed. But that I didn't really have feeling as far as that. It didn't give me any bad feelings. It didn't give me any good feelings. I felt like I was just there for the ride. And all I was in there for was just for the scenery that I was seeing, the stars and the planets and all this stuff, and the white light. But the feeling, the only time I really had a feeling is when I went into that white light. And that was something else. It's hard to describe. I never wanted to leave that light. Never, ever.
Define that for me, if you don't mind, because for those of us who haven't had the chance to see it yet, and I hope I only see it once, and I want to see it more than once, it's a pretty profound experience from what I've heard.
Yes, it is. Well, for me, it was a life-changing experience. The whole process there, but that white light, when it hits you, it goes right through you. If you have any negative thoughts, anything like that, I think this white light could seek it out, and it just goes straight through your body. It's hard to explain, but it's all good. It's really good. There's no pain or anything about it. It's something that you don't ever want to leave. when I woke up in that meadow, I'm going, where's the light? You know, that's one of the first things I was questioning, because that was something else. And the only thing, you know, I told you earlier too, I believe in God and I believe in Jesus, but my belief in God's probably different than anybody else's. And this person that was is sitting there in this light was what I would have to say he was God or an angel or one of his representatives or something. But he knew how to put on a show. That light was coming from him, and it just knocked me out almost. Well, it did anyway. I blacked out. The feelings are very intense. Every nerve ending in your body is getting this light, and I don't know how to express it. It's just fantastic.
When you are astral projecting, does your body experience any vibrations or energy waves along with it? Is it a palatable experience for you to go through?
Yeah, I did show very much. I didn't have very much discomfort in the beginning. My biggest thing was fear at first, because I was going through ceilings and roofs, and it was quite. I was quite fearful at first, but as I gathered my thoughts and everything, and started looking around me and seeing where I was going and stuff, I didn't feel any of that, and I didn't really feel any vibrations. Just the speed. The speed was unreal. I knew I was going really fast. I don't know how fast I was going. I don't know if you could even measure it, but I was going at a tremendous rate of speed. And then, like I said, when I hit the light, I slowed down really quick. And I also felt that as the slowing down part of it. But I didn't really have any discomfort. Maybe that's part of the projection. I don't know. As far as the light was concerned, I don't have any power over those astral projections, like you said. It just happens to me. I told you I was sensitive.
Yes.
And I cannot call upon spirits, but they can call upon me. And I've had times when they call upon me and they tell me what they want me to express. Or a lot of times my wife and I will do that together. She's like my sounding board. When we got married, people say, how can you marry somebody that's like you? But it's a blessing. It's a godsend as far as I'm concerned. If I was married to somebody that wasn't that way, I'd probably be hurting. But yeah, she's really great, and we use each other as sounding boards. Her and I channeled this one guy one time. I've never done that before, but I did it one time for this lady, and when I called her back to let her know what we came up with, the way I did it was, if my wife and I had the same feeling or the same pictures in our mind at the same time, then we knew the spirit was telling us that was right. And then I would go through and maybe add to it from what I saw. I told you that we saw a brown dog. My wife said she saw a brown dog. And I also saw a brown dog. But I saw like a Irish setter, which would be a little bit on the reddish side. Now, my wife didn't see that, but I did. And come to find out, the woman said that her father did have an Irish setter when he was younger. And that was one of his favorite dogs. Also came up that he liked fishing and hunting and stuff like that. And that was with my wife's help on that. So it was something that I had never done before, and it was quite interesting even for me. A lot of times I'll see a picture in my mind as to what the spirit is trying to tell me. I want to warn you, sometimes the spirit will come to me on one of these radio shows and tell me something about the host. And that happened to me one time.
Well, if that happens, you just pass it all along. I'm good to go with that. I'm good to go with that.
You're good to go?
Wouldn't be the
Okay,
first
well-
time. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened.
This one show host, though, he had a twin brother that had passed on about a year or so ago. And the co-host was telling me that he was feeling quite bad about it, and he was taking his death bad. And a lot of reason for that, I told you there's a pre-existent. And the twins and triplets and stuff like that were also friends in this pre-existent, and they were also close friends. So when they came to Earth, when it was their time to come to Earth, they came together. And when one of them dies like that, it kind of leaves a hole in the other person's life. And that's kind of the way he felt. But anyway, as we went on with the show, all of a sudden I got this feeling, my wife and I both did, that there was a spirit that sat down between us. And when he sat down, he wanted me to tell his brother something. And I had to actually interrupt the show. He was the host was talking at the time, and I had to interrupt the show. And I told him that his brother was with us right now, and his brother wanted him to know that he is with him always, and that that he would actually come and see him in his dream, maybe one dream. And the spirit like punched me and said, no more. And I said, possibly 2 dreams. And the spirit hit me again and said, no more. I said, well, you'll probably be several dreams. And the host said, yeah, that's right. I've had several dreams about my brother. And I said, well, that's your brother telling you that he's okay, that he's okay where he's at. And I said, he wants me to also tell you that when you die, he's going to be there waiting for you. And there was about a minute silence on that show that night. And you could hear a pin drop, number one. And when you have about a minute silence on a radio show, that's maybe that's not good, you know. But anyway, sometimes that happens. But so far it hasn't happened here.
Well, if it does happen, I'm quite okay with that. Weird things have been known to happen. We've had aliens at the window. We've had demons appear. You know, we've had a little bit of everything. Last week we had an orb flying by my face that the people on Periscope were watching. It was kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah, so we get lots of weird stuff that happens here, and we're quite all right with it when it does happen. So, I mean, it's just something that you know, if you get a message, feel free to send it on over, because I'm all zen and chi about it, man. All zen and chi. You know?
Sounds good to me. I will pass it on then.
Good. I hope so. That'll make for a fun time. You call yourself a medium, but a medium that is, you know, it's not something you've really, I guess you've accepted it, but it's something that you haven't really taken up. They come to you. You don't go searching for them. Why do you think it's been that way for you?
I don't know. I have a great respect for the spirits that has passed on. I don't want to call anybody out just for the heck of it, number one. I want to be able to have somebody come forward that really wants to speak. And most generally, all those messages are good, you know, that I've had so far. but I just never thought of doing anything to enhance my training or anything. I've never been trained in anything paranormal. Everything I write about is true. The experiences are true. Um, my wife told me I should write a book, and I ended up writing 4 books, and I'm on the 5th book right now. So she keeps asking me, "Do you have another book in you?" And I do. But uh, I enjoy being a passive medium, and that's where they come to me. And I used to, well, I use this analogy somewhat. It's like a basketball game, and I have the ball, and I have players around me and everything. I'm surrounded by these spirits. But the only thing is, the only ones that get through to me with their messages are the ones that's got a lot of energy and stronger than the other ones, and ones that really want to give their message across, like the twin brother of the host of that show. He wanted his message given to that person that night. And so I'm not like an Amy Allen that can go in the house and call out spirits and stuff like that. I'm just not. I'm just not geared for it, and I just don't do it. I was asked once, how do I turn it off? I basically don't turn it off. It's 24/7. Like I said, when I go to bed, sometimes I have astral projections and stuff. And sometimes during the day when I'm awake, I have things come to me, spirits or whatever. So it's pretty much a 24/7 job, but it's not like Amy Allen. I have no idea how she can turn off something like that. I really don't. I don't think I want to know either.
So
you must go through the process.
When these spirits, Alan, come up to you, what does it feel like for you? Is it almost an aggressiveness that they show, almost an anxiety type? How do you know that they are there if you're not the one approaching them or asking them to even come around?
Well, my wife, she can, like I said, she's passive medium also. And the day that we were trying to channel the father there of that lady, she said the spirits were poking at her, very aggressively poking at her. And so that's how she felt when the spirits were around her. Now, when they're around me, I feel like a tingling type sensation. Sometimes I get goosebumps. That's how they tell me that they're with me. But I know they're around me 24 hours a day. I can feel them. I can feel their spirits around me all the time. I just, once in a while, I'll get a bad feeling or a spirit in there, and I have to cleanse myself. And it's the same way with my wife. But so far, nothing really bad has happened. But does that answer your question?
Well, it does. I mean, but it's still the fact that a lot of people who have never had that experience may be trying to figure out what it's actually like to go through that type of experience. I mean, do they invade your body almost like in a channeling aspect, or are they knocking on doors, walking down the hallway? Are you seeing them? How does it work?
No, with me, they just come up next to me. I'm a sensitive, and I can feel them come up next to me. Now, they don't go into my body. They don't jump into me or anything like that. They just come up next to me, and I can feel them. And the stronger ones can even put pictures in my mind as to what they want said or whatever. And I get a tingling sensation. That's the only way to express it. I know it's probably different with almost everybody, how they do it. In one of the chapters in my book, it's entitled Ghost Magnets. And we are ghost magnets. The sensitives, spirits know who is sensitive to them and who can feel them or who can talk to them or whatever. And that's the person that they're going to be hanging around to begin with. It's probably different I know it's different for Amy Allen, but for my wife and I, like I said, she gets like something poking her on her sides and back and stuff. For me, it's just a tingling sensation, but it could be, all I can say is if you're doing this for the first time, you want to try it, the best way to do it is to go into a room that's quiet, sit there for about maybe 15, 20 minutes, and after that, maybe ask a question like, is there a spirit in this room? And if there is, you'll probably get some kind of answer. And don't let the least little thing that happens to you go by without noticing it. It could be a spirit that's trying to get a hold of you. And sometimes it could be a relative that's trying to get in touch with you. I know this lady that we were trying to get her father to come forth. She said that when he died, he was around the family all the time, and that she could feel him all the time. But anyway, the past few months or whatever, she could not feel him anymore, and she wanted to know why. And she wanted us to see if we could give her an answer to that question. And when we did our thing, it came through as somebody in her family had told him to go to the light. And somebody also had said that it might be best if he didn't come around for the family. And that's the reason why she hadn't felt him in a long time. And my wife came up with this. What he told her was, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And what he was doing was apologizing to the family because he thought he was creating something that they didn't want, and that was not the case. Maybe that one person that asked him to go in the light, maybe that was, he would consider maybe they didn't want him. But I think they did it then even for him, thinking that maybe it would be best for him to go into the light. But at the end of this, we told him that she would want him around, and we got a good feeling about that. And I think that he would be around her again, at least somewhat.
We only have a couple minutes here before we have to go to break, about 3 minutes here. Earlier on, you mentioned about shadow people being around you. And there's a big misconception, I think, with shadow people where everybody thinks they're devious, demonic-type creatures, yet there are people out there who believe the complete opposite as well, that they are almost sort of like guardians. What is your take on shadow people?
Well, since I was in that place there, and I was in what I called hell, and all the spirits there were pretty bad, and they were looking at me in kind of a bad way. Those shadow people I felt were kind of devious and evil. But at the same time, I've seen shadow people back when I was teenagers, and it was more like a mischievous type thing. I explained in one of my books also that as a teenager, I took a date out on Lover's Lane out in the desert in Phoenix, Arizona, which was used by the high school kids back then. And they were darting from tree to tree. They weren't making any aggressive movements towards us. It was more like I don't know, like they were trying to play a joke on us or something. But we saw a shadow people that night when we were there. I don't think they're evil if they're not evil. like in hell, they were bad, those people. But the ones I saw as a teenager, they were okay.
Do you find them to come at dark places? Have you had experiences with them before, say when you've been channeling or astral traveling, and one of those not so nice spirits has kind of jumped in to say hello?
Well, we used to live in a haunted house, and there was all kinds of things going on in this haunted house, and there was also shadow people. And my wife also saw them in the daytime in the hallway of this house. They would go from wall to wall in the hallway. Now, they didn't come out of the hallway or into the house itself. They stayed in this hallway. So, you know, we did see them in the light here on Earth, but nothing like in the light where I was at on that astral projection. I didn't see any shadow people there. I saw another thing when we lived in that haunted house. When I went to bed at night, I would just get to sleep, a real sound sleep, and this creature would rush up on me and squeal or scream in my ear. And we called it a banshee. In fact, the title in the book on the episode is Banshee on Dunlap Avenue.
Right.
And this thing would rush up on me and scream in my ear and wake me up out of a sound sleep. And it would do it like a couple times a night.
That's
and
not very fun.
Well, it was a female, very old, very ugly, scrawny legs and feet and arms and spindly little fingers with nails, long nails on them. And when we did the blessing on the house, we did it mainly to get rid of the banshee there. We did not get rid of the shadow people, which I thought was interesting when we did the blessing on the house.
Alan, I'm going to get you.
Got rid of everything else.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we got to go out for our first break of the night. Author Alan Wright is our guest tonight. He's a passive medium. He's an intuitive. He's an astral traveler. A lot of really cool stories coming up. Make sure you check out his latest book, Roads Less Traveled, A Life Story by Alan Wright. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back with more right after this.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hey Space Travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at SpacedOutRadio.com I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spacedoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over the Spaced Out Radio night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, paranormal television star Stephanie Burke is going to be with us. We're going to talk about paranormal television, what it's like to work in front of the cameras, ghost hunting, get into Reiki, healing, intuition, so much more. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, and you can catch us live every single night on The Fringe FM. So you just go to your computer, type in thefringe.fm, or download the free app. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Paresthesia. Paresthesia is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. As Uncle Bob said off the top, you can find us all over social media, including our YouTube channel for our archives. Go to youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And if you want to check out the show on Periscope, go to periscope.tv/spacedoutradio. We're right there. We'll give you a little wave as well every now and again. Now, if you want to head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the Encounter online, dealing with all things paranormal, strange, and odd. My latest blog is there as well, and you can also watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. Tonight we are talking with author Alan Wright. His latest book, My Destination for the Truth, is out right now. It's the 4th book that he has written. He has started number 5. He is an empath, a passive medium, intuition extraordinaire. Alan, welcome back.
Thank you.
During hour
Thank you
number
for having me today.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you. During hour number 2, we usually like to bring in some questions from our guests here, and we'll go to Twitter right off the bat with Andrew, who is saying, Alan, do you ever receive sensations in your body when the spirits arrive?
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Like I said, I'm surrounded by spirits all the time. I know they're there. And the stronger spirits, the ones with more energy or have something that they want to say, they come through. And when they come through, I feel them. I feel them sometimes on my right side, sometimes on my left side, but I feel them, and then they tell me what they want said. Now, what they want said usually comes to me in feelings. Sometimes they also, there's a picture that develops in my mind as to what they're trying to say to me. For instance, a dog, like I said, a brown dog, Irish setter. That was the picture I had. I also had a picture of this guy hunting and fishing, a boat. I had all these things going through my mind, so I knew exactly what the spirit wanted me to say. But yeah, you can feel them. If you're sensitive, you can feel those exactly.
Follow-up from Andrew. Do you get microspasms or twitches in different parts of your body? For instance, if your legs are twitching ever so slightly but you're not moving, would you say the spirits are walking around?
What about you? I don't, but I'm going to tell you right now, my wife does. She was over there shaking her head, yes. When the spirits are walking around, she does have micro twitches in her legs. So she's actually more sensitive than I am. She didn't know that she was a passive medium. I was the one that told her that, because she was picking up on things before I was even. So yeah, she's pretty good at this stuff. She's kind of bashful though, so she doesn't like to go on shows and stuff, but she's pretty good at this stuff too, and she's a great companion to have when I'm doing this stuff, because she really helps me out.
You being in Utah, there's a lot of high strangeness in that state. You know, there really is, from UFO sightings to the Skinwalker Ranch and everything in between. Do you think where you live, and because your state is known for such strange oddities, that probably enhances the experience?
Oh, I think so. Exactly. I really do. Um, if you're in a house full of spirits, you're bound to pick up on something, and that's the way Utah is. You know, you have to remember too, Utah became a state back in the 1800s. What was it, 1843, something like that. Anyway, it's been around for a while. There's been battles fought here. There Indian fights and everything. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of activity here. Um, I I I really believe there might be a vortex here too. Uh, but anyway, I know I'm having fun.
You remind me of a good friend of this show. His name is Barry Strom. I don't know if you know him or not.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's about your age. He lives in Pennsylvania and him and his wife own a very haunted antique store, and they're trying to sell it so that way they can move back home to Utah. And he's finally figured out why the store won't sell, and it's because the spirits in the building don't want him to move.
Exactly.
Even though he wants to, and he wants to get back home to Utah. And him and his wife use a spirit board to do a lot of communication. Do you and your wife maybe not use a spirit board, but do you sit down and have little settings where you guys feel that you need to channel, or you feel the need to move forward with some sort of spiritual contact?
I told you I don't like the negativity that I can pick up through some of those spirits. I think Ouija board, number one, is a very good way for that negativity to come through. I don't like it. I used it once way back when I was a teenager, my sister and we would get together. At first it was pretty much a game, we laughed and tee-heed, and it went around and spelled out some words and stuff. But the more we used it, the faster it got, the more intense it got. Towards the end, we actually had to have a person write down the letters as fast as they could on a tablet. And then after the Ouija board was done right, or doing its thing, we have to go back and make words and sentences and paragraphs from this thing. And it was getting pretty bad towards the end also. We were sitting there one night working it, and somebody knocked at the front door, and this thing spelled out, "Who's there?" And we said, "We don't know." So they went over and answered it, one of my other sisters. And it was a friend of my sister's who lived up the street a ways. And so we said, well, I forget her name, so-and-so's, it's so-and-so. And that board spelled out, "Tell her to leave, I don't like her." No, when a board does that, it's not a game, it's more than a game. And it's starting to get very negative. And I don't use Ouija boards for anything, and I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. What we do, I guess you would say we meditate. That's a pretty big deal. I find that the spirits can get to me faster and better with ease when my mind is uncluttered. If I want to turn off the process for the spirits, all I have to do is just turn on the TV and a high action movie or a football game or something like that. If I turn off the TV like it is right now, and it's kind of quiet in the room, it gives the spirits a chance to contact me. And that's the way I want to do it. And most generally, I don't pick up bad spirits. Once in a while, I believe I'm the only paranormal author that I know of who came away from writing a chapter in his book with an attachment. I actually had gained an attachment that it took it like took me over. I had fear, and I had all those bad things. I picked on my wife. I was really irritated with her. I was angry all the time, and I had to do a cleansing of myself to get rid of this attachment that I had with me. And it was from writing one of my books. I never heard that before. Never, ever. I think, too, Dave, that when you're in the paranormal field like we are, we have paranormal things happen to us all the time. With me, I don't go out ghost hunting, and I don't do all that stuff that they do on TV. I write books. That's my thing. I like to write them. I write them because they're my experiences that I had. But I tell you, I was writing this one chapter in one of my books, and I just got done writing that chapter. And the next morning, I closed up I do everything on my smartphone. I even write my books on my smartphone. But anyway, I closed it up, and the next morning I went to my app to write another chapter, and the chapter I had wrote the day before was nothing but signs and symbols and question marks and exclamation marks. The whole chapter was that way from beginning to end. How does that happen? How does that happen? I've never had that happen to me before. The whole, if it's going to happen, why didn't it do that to the other chapters before? Just that one chapter I was writing. The only thing I could think of was I was writing about a spirit that, I had contact with. And I think the spirit was mad about it or something, and it just messed it up. The only thing is I always sent a copy of my episodes, or my chapters, I'm sorry, to my wife, and she puts them in her laptop computer. And she had it on her laptop, and it was okay. So, anyway, do you find that to be true? Would you?
Oh, you know what? There's so much strangeness that kind of happens around here, Alan, that you never know what's going to happen. They've pretty much left me alone ever since I started this show. Yes, we've had some strange experiences during the show. Aliens showing up at the window, to be one. But,
my goodness.
But, it's something where I'm pretty much left alone now. I get the odd weird thing, not as often as it used to be. Like between 2011 and 2014, before I started the show in late 2014, it was almost daily. Almost daily there was something weird or strange happening that I couldn't explain. And I know one area where I want to talk to you and take this conversation. Did you notice any regards or changes to your health or financial situation the more you got into this field?
Yes, I did. With my health, especially. And my wife's health also. About 3 years ago, I got up one morning. My wife was getting ready to go to work. I went down the hallway to the bathroom, and all of a sudden, my right leg just gave out. My whole right side of my body. I fell on the floor like a rock, and I just laid there. I couldn't get up again, and the pain was excruciating. I had never had pain like that before, and I've had kidney stones and stuff like that, and this pain was really bad because it covered like half my body. But anyway, I finally made it back to my bed, and I was able to crawl in it. And thank goodness I had went to the dentist earlier, about a week or so before, and I had some pain pills that he gave me, and I took those to relieve some of the pain. But I was almost handicapped for at least 3 months, and I'm still feeling the effects of that right now. I couldn't drive my car for 2 months. Everywhere I went, I had to use a walking stick. And the doctors don't know why. They don't know what happened. They can't find out anything. Even to this day, if I walk any distance, I'll have to use a walking stick. And I have glaucoma in my right eye. It's only one eye. And my eye specialist said that that's really rare, for just one eye to have glaucoma. But I told my wife it's just my third eye coming out. And anyway, yeah, I have quite a few health problems that way. I told you kidney stones and stuff. And my wife is the same way. She's had kidney stones. She has a pain in her side that they don't know what's causing it. She can sometimes have a pain in her side when she feels a negative spirit in the room. And yeah, sometimes during my radio shows, now she's telling me always, she has a pain in her side. And it's caused mainly by the spirits that surround us now when we do this show. And especially the spirits when I talk about that one in hell. For some reason, they gather around when I talk about him. I don't know what it is. But, yeah, I think that people in the paranormal field, I've heard so many of them. It seems like they have problems with their kidneys. A lot of them have heart problems. They have high blood pressure. I don't know why. I find these people that are young and all of a sudden they're dead, and I don't understand what's causing it. The only thing I can think of is I kind of have a theory about it, that being in the paranormal field, even me writing these books, we deal with negative spirits. And these negative spirits put this negative stuff in us, and it's not good. It's not good at all. You tend to do better when you're in the light and you have good stuff in you. Those dark spirits, those negative spirits are really bad. And I think that's what causes most of this.
Alan, just out of curiosity, because we got a lot, you've mentioned your wife a number of times, and we haven't even asked her name yet. Could you please tell us your wife's name so we can at least say hello?
Okay. Yeah, her name's Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
There she is. Beautiful Lori. Hopping on in. I have some questions jumping up from our listeners here because we like to keep our listeners interactive with the show. But I do want to say, with the body pain and the health problems that you've noticed since you've started getting into the paranormal, a lot of people will say, Alan, well, gee, pain comes with age. As we get older, there's a lot of people who get more sore. They get a little crotchety. They get a little bit of aching in the joints. I'm one of them. I have arthritis in every joint of my body, and there are days I cannot walk. How do you decipher or differentiate between the pain that you get as you are growing older comparatively to the pain you get when you start dealing with the paranormal?
Well, Dave, I was riding a Yamaha Royal Star motorcycle, which is 1300 cc's V4 liquid cooled motorcycle, and just about 4 years ago, and we took it all over the place, California, Mexico, all over Arizona, and now I'm riding a electric cart in grocery stores. That's quite a drastic change in just 4 years. And I'm only 69, It's not like I'm about ready to die or anything. I shouldn't be ready to die. It's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things. I have no idea. I do have pain in places I never had before, and I do have arthritis. and that's different from the pain that I have on my side, and that should not have anything to do with my glaucoma in my right eye at all. But I was telling you, I was teasing my wife. I was said that was my third eye blind, or third eye. I can look up at the sky and I can see clouds in a distance, and I can tell if they have energy or not. And I can usually tell if there's going to be rain from those clouds. And so I make a good weatherman now.
Yeah, my body lets me know about humidity.
Yeah.
But let's get to some questions from our audience here. Jade has a couple on Periscope. She is asking, Alan, what do you do to protect yourself and shield yourself from any negative energies or entities?
Yeah. Usually we give blessings. We bless ourselves. We sage ourselves. And we try to cleanse our bodies. We sage ourselves. Blessings. I can feel the moment I pick up a negative spirit, and usually I try to take care of it as quickly as possible, because you don't want that in you. I've had attachments before, like I said. I try to get rid of them as much as possible. But I think just because they're around me, you know what I mean? I know they're around me. I can feel their presence, and I really can't get rid of them. And I think being in the paranormal field, I think most paranormal individuals will have those spirits around them, and there's bound to be negativity in them, and that's probably the reason why they're having so much trouble with their health.
Do you find that, as I mentioned about the health, did you find financially that you started seeing a little bit of a difference as well?
No, not really. We weren't hurting financially that way. We moved up here to Utah. They call this God's country, and I haven't noticed any, bad things with our finances, especially. I can say I haven't, but like you, I've heard of some people in the paranormal field that has. So I think that could be a problem.
Yeah, I have heard a lot of people in this field going from very high, well-paying jobs down to literally almost feeling like they're broke and dealing with financial woes, troubles, potential bankruptcy, everything, all because of their focus changing on this field. Now, the way a lot of people try to explain it is that the spiritual realm really doesn't understand the financial realm because they have no need for money. Yet, to me, that sounds like a little bit of a cop-out, and in one way, but on the flip side, when it happens to so many people, you do have to wonder whether or not there is some validity to it.
Well, I kind of feel too that you're going to have. I don't want to use the word evil, but I do believe that there's evil spirits out there, and they only have one mission in whatever they do, and that's to get rid of us. They don't like people that can say tell what spirits want or talk to spirits' relatives or stuff like that. They don't want that. That's too good for them, and I think they would do anything. If they could hurt us financially, they would do it. If they could hurt us health-wise, they would do it. And I really do believe that in my heart, that a lot of this is just evil, negativity stuff that's coming through. I wanted to tell you something else, too. I noticed around the year 2000, and it's been going on ever since. You mentioned 2012, 2014. I felt a difference, like a shift in the veil. It feels like it's getting thinner. I feel like the spirits, the ones that go through the veil, it's very easy for them to do that now, especially the negative ones. There is a shift in that veil, and I don't know what's causing it. I don't know the reason for it, but I felt it. I have felt it a couple times now, a shift. I don't know what's causing it.
Let's get to another question from Andrew here on Twitter. He is asking, do you have, being from Utah, any friends who are Mormons? And if you do, how do they respond to your spiritual work and entities?
My wife and I sitting here chuckling. Yes, we do have friends, and that's LDS. We're Jack Mormons. I've received really good response from the members of the LDS Church. I have some in Utah that buy my books. Idaho, they buy books. I never had any negative comments or anything from them. So I guess it's very well taken. I'm a member of the LDS Church, and I told you I wasn't much for organized religion, but I joined this church mainly because it has similar beliefs as to what I saw in my astral projections. I told you I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I might be separate from the church when I say that God could possibly be an alien, but yeah, I haven't had any difficulty with the church or the members of the church so far.
That's good to know, because so many situations of people having paranormal experiences, they've almost been annexed or shunned by their religious brethren and sisters because of what has happened to them. You're very lucky with that.
Yeah, that can happen. Who knows? It might happen to me. I don't know. The only thing is, like I said, what I see, what I've said is the truth. I can't change that. If a religion says, well, that's not right, well, I'm sorry, I saw it. I lived it. And it's like going out and saying, there's a tree, and somebody saying, no, that's not a tree. Well, yes, it is. I saw it. And that's the way this is. I've seen it. I lived it. I was there. And that's the only thing I can tell you, I'm not trying to tell people not to go to church. My thing is...
Let me cut you off right there. What do you think then of the hypocrisy that goes around with a lot of church people and parishioners with their fear or lack of acceptance of any type of paranormal type activity?
Well, I think a lot of them are raised to believe just what they're told. Like with me, it was with my parents. We went to a Baptist church every Sunday, and my grandparents were active in it and sat on the board of trustees in this church, and I think if you're raised in the church and that's what you believe, anything else kind of jeopardizes that way of belief, and they can't have that. That's the only thing I can think of. I know I said this before, maybe I'm going to get jumped on now. I think a lot of churches, if Jesus Christ walked down the aisle right then, they'd probably grab him by the arms and throw him out the front door.
I would agree with you on that.
Because they would not recognize him as being Jesus, because he would probably think differently than them and probably look differently than them. And that's That's the way I feel. Yeah. There again.
Being Mormon and part of the LDS, Joseph Smith was allegedly to have spoken and had conversations with angels. So there are some sort of supernatural experiences connected to the fathers of the religion. Do you think this is true, that it could possibly back up your own testimony to your claims?
Well, yeah, like I said, a lot of the things that maybe not necessarily written teachings or whatever, but from what I understand, teachings of the church is the way I believe is what I've seen and stuff like that. So, of all the churches I've been affiliated with, and I've been affiliated with a lot of them, the LDS religion is probably the one that comes closest to what I believe. It's kind of hard to join a church that says, if you do not, believe one way and they try to force you to change your belief, it's kind of hard to do that, With the LDS church, especially with me, me seeing what I saw and everything, I can go along with the teachings of Joseph Smith, because basically that's what he did. He had a vision, and the vision was of God the Father and Jesus, his son, I think, wasn't it? Anyway, he had a vision, and so I believe that. I don't. Why would it be such out of the realm of things if somebody did have that? To me, if I believed in God and he had a vision of God, then more power to him. I would be wishing I had that, He talked to God. I haven't been able to do that yet. I probably saw him, but then I blacked out, so.
Moving on here, Yvonne wants to know, have you ever seen a person's death mask descend on your face as you were talking to them or channeling them?
No, I haven't. I've never had that experience. Short answer, because I've never had that experience. Has that happened to some people?
I would assume it has. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I don't think I would want to.
No, I wouldn't want somebody's death mask on my face.
Do you think then, knowing when somebody is going to pass as a medium or as an intuitive, do you think that is something you try and stay away from, or have you had experiences like that?
Yeah, the big part of my thing too is healing, and I'll give blessings to people. And I was going to give blessings to this man. His name was Bill, and his wife, he had brain cancer, and it was terminal. And his wife was hoping for miracles, and she called me over to her house to give her husband blessings, quite often. For a while there, all I could do was just calm him down, because he was having visions, or I don't know, he was seeing people in the room and stuff like that. And all I could do was pretty much ease him down a little bit and calm him down some. This one night she called me up. It was about 9 o'clock, 9:30. Wanted me to come over and give him a blessing because he was having a bad night. And I went over there and I opened the bedroom door and I went over to him. And I realized right then, the minute I opened the door to the room, that I could not give this man another blessing, because what I was doing was just prolonging the thing that was supposed to happen. And that was the thing that was supposed to happen, was him dying. And what I did was I gave him a blessing and I released his spirit. And I told him to go to the light and to receive, his relatives and stuff. And the minute I did that, he calmed down. He calmed way down. And I went home, and when I lived about maybe 5 minutes away from her house, and when I got home, when I was walking in the door, the phone was ringing, and I answered the phone, and it was her. She said Bill had died just after I left their house. So there's a thing, like I said before, if you're supposed to die, you're going to die. And you could have all the shaman on the earth come and give you a blessing, and it's just not going to work, because you're supposed to go. And there's time for you to go. It's time for you to go. On the other side now, we got a phone call from this one lady. She called my wife, and she said that her daughter was in a really bad accident the night before, and she wanted to know if I could go to the hospital and give her daughter a blessing. Her daughter and her boyfriend was at a local tavern I lived north of Phoenix in this rural area. And there was a small road, 2-lane highway. It was real windy and had a lot of dips in it and stuff. Well, anyway, there was this bar there, and they went to this bar and they were partying. Well, something happened. They had a fight, and she said she was going home. So she went out in the parking lot and went to their vehicle, which was a Jeep with no sides and no top on it. And anyway, he came out with her and said he was going to drive his Jeep, Well, they took off out of there, and they were going down this road, and he went down this dip. And when it came up out of the dip, it was supposed to turn right real sharp. He was going too fast. When he came up to turn right, the Jeep rolled over several times, and it threw her out, and she hit her head on the ground. Anyway, she was at the hospital there in North Phoenix, and she wanted to know if I would go give her daughter a blessing, and I said I would. And anyway, I went there, and at first the hospital was not going to let me into ICU because she was in really bad shape. She was on life support and the whole 9 yards. And I told her that the family wanted me to give her a blessing. And I told them also that I was lay clergy. And so they went ahead and let me go into this room. I took my friend with me too, and he helped me with this blessing. And when we went into this room, there was machines all around this woman, and I never seen a contraption like this before. Her legs were spread apart on these supports that came from, it looked like a recliner almost type thing. And anyway, the arms of this bed came out too as supports for her arms. She had tubes and wires and everything connected to her. We wanted to go and get up to her top of her head mainly, and we could barely do it. I sent him up. I use oil, virgin olive oil, when I give a blessing. And anyway, he anointed her with the oil, and then I went up. During this time, I tried to, make my mind, clear my mind of all obstruction and chaos or whatever during this period of time. Anyway, I went up to the top of her forehead. The only place he could find was her forehead, just above her eyebrows. And anyway, I laid my hand upon her, and I gave her a blessing. I started to, and I usually have a set words that I say when I give a blessing. But this time, for some reason, that didn't fit, and my mind went blank. It was like somebody took an eraser and just erased it. And I know I stood there for a couple minutes, and I know my friend was kind of going, what's going on with you, Alan? I couldn't talk. I didn't even know my own name. And all of a sudden, the words came to me, and I commanded her in the name of Jesus Christ to respond to treatment and therapy. And that's all I told her. And I had a good feeling after that blessing. Most generally, I can tell if the blessing is going to take or if it's not. And I had a good feeling about this one. Anyway, we went back home and I went to work, and I came back later on, that night. And my wife said that that lady had called again and said that the doctors told her that her daughter was brain dead and that they were going to take her off life support the next morning. And I told my wife, I said, well, tell the doctors to go ahead and do it. They can do it right now if they want, because she's not going to die. And sure enough, they took her off life support, and she kept breathing. She kept doing the things that she was supposed to do. And the last I heard, she was married. I guess she married that guy that almost killed her. And they had 3 or 4 kids, and they moved to California. So it worked. There's a power out there that people don't realize. There's also been shaman around since the beginning of time. If you have a village of people or a group of people around in the beginning of when human beings first began living on this earth, you would have a person that was designated or was responsible for the health of the people, and they called them shaman or whatever. But they were responsible for healing people, and that has never went away. It's changed to where we have medicines now and hospitals and doctors and all this stuff. But really, that old-fashioned way of healing is still out there, and it's still good, and it works.
The power of prayer, I'm a big believer in. And, like up here just a few days ago, we had a very tragic accident up here involving a junior hockey team in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, where 15 of the players and coaches and team executives passed away after their bus was tragically involved in a collision with a semi-truck that was driving.
I heard about that.
And, there is so much, the hockey community, Canada may be vast in land, but we are very, very, small in population. And when you whittle that down to the hockey family, people who've played hockey, people who have been involved with the game one way or another, as a player, as a coach, as a billet parent, where kids come and stay at their house during the hockey season so they could play hockey. It's really affected anybody in the community. And, the one thing after watching the memorial service yesterday that all of the clergy who got up to speak had said was that the power of prayer really does have the help to manifest some positivity out of a very dark type situation. Have you ever been in a situation that you felt was absolutely uncontrollable and used the power of prayer in order to get yourself or Lori out of that terrible environment?
I'm looking at my wife right now. What's that? What show is that? Oh. Well, she was saying that in one of my radio shows that actually she had a negative spirit attack her. And that's when I was talking about going to hell there. And she always has bad feelings after that. Anyway, I had to give her a blessing after that. And that was basically a prayer. And yeah, we use it when we have to, when we feel like that's appropriate for it, I've used it several times, and when I bless houses even, I've used it. But you should, I guess, just pray every day.
Oh, I fully agree. You just absolutely never know. Gail is wondering, when you've used the word blessings here a number of times, what do you mean by the word blessings?
Well, it could be a couple of different things. A blessing could be where a person lays his hands on your head or body and gives you a blessing. It's basically words or to relieve you of your pain or your sickness or whatever might be ailing you. Another blessing could be prayer. I call prayer. I don't usually call blessing a prayer. And I call blessings more like where I lay my hands on somebody and give them a blessing. But it's a healing blessing is what it is.
Do you find almost instantaneous type results, or does it take some time for it to actually go through? And when you are praying, let me add that more to it. Is it just to God? Is it just to Jesus? Who are you praying to?
Well, I guess I would have to say I'm praying to both of them. I usually close the prayer in Jesus' name, but I feel like I'm praying to God in the prayer itself. Yeah, and the blessings that I give, if they're good, they're going to take instantaneously. I mean, we've had, I don't know if your pets or you know of anybody with their pets that got that pet sickness that they had, pet flu or whatever it was that was going around about a month or so ago. We had 2 dogs that got it. We have 3 dogs, and they were throwing up and they had diarrhea, really in bad shape. And we took the one to a vet, and he gave him some pills and stuff. Well, you try to give a dog a pill, and it's like I don't know what. Anyway, I decided to give him a blessing, which I should have done to begin with, or her. And sure enough, she got over it almost next day. She was completely better. And our other little dog, our other little Chihuahua, she got it too, and I blessed her. And by that afternoon, she was just fine. But yeah, most of the time it's instantaneous, unless, like I said, I can tell when it's not going to take 2, and it's about 50% it's not going to take.
Why use virgin olive oil?
Back in the ancient times, that's what they use for healing and stuff. A lot of times, you can put extra virgin olive oil on sores or wounds and stuff, and it actually helps with the healing of those things. And so it just became that way. Not everybody uses it, but a lot of the doctors, I should say, ancient doctors or shaman would use it in part of their practices. Yeah. When I give a blessing, I just put a little bit on the top of their head. And I don't know, I guess it's just maybe makes the path for when I give a blessing, the energy can travel to that person better. It's like stronger or something. It just works better. Sometimes I've done where I just use virgin oil and not said any words, and it worked.
Very nice. We only have about 2.5 minutes here before we have to go to break. And Shar is asking in the chat room, when you do your blessings, do you do them just in person, or do you do them over the phone, Skype, wherever, and do you have the same success rate?
What's that? Well, I'm going to tell you that I knew this lady, and her husband was put in a hospital. He had a really bad abdominal pain, and the doctors thought it was pretty bad, and they were going to have to operate on him. He had problems eating and everything. And from the way she talked, he was in very bad shape. And I didn't tell her I was going to do this because I didn't know if it would work or not. But I actually gave him a blessing over the internet. And I'll be darned if it didn't work. He started improving immediately. And, I think part of that is basically the power of prayer again, because, when you do it like that, it's almost like a prayer type situation. But yeah, by the next day, I guess he was sitting up and eating, and he was doing pretty good. And I've given a couple of them that way. But there again, I don't think it would happen all the time. Lori reminded me that we're supposed to try that again tomorrow. And tomorrow with Lori for my sister, because she's having problems and stuff. So we're going to try it again tomorrow.
If somebody needed to get a hold of you in regards to a blessing, do you do public ones, or is it just for people that you know?
Well, I don't do public ones like that. If somebody was to email me wanting a blessing, and then I could do it that way. That's about the only way I could do it. I'm not in for traveling and stuff like that. I don't do airplanes. Isn't that crazy? I just don't do airplanes. I got all these spirits around me and everything, and I just don't fly. And but if they want to email me, I'd be more than happy to perform a blessing for them that way. If you want my email address, I can give it.
Sure. We only got about 15 seconds left. Shoot it.
Oh, wow. Well, try Alan Wright 453 at yahoo.com.
Wonderful. We're going to step out for a break here in hour number 3. Coming on up, we also got the Thought of the Day going on. Spiritual Talk tonight on Spaced Out Radio. It continues right after this. Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We're lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to SpacedOutRadio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
There's stories, then there's the truth. Do any of us really trust the news anymore? This is Jamie Sexton, owner of Rebel Planet News. The third Thursday of every month, I appear on spacedoutradio.com to bring you the truth you deserve, without mainstream media lies or alternative media fear-mongering. We'll get to the heart of the story and deliver the truth you're seeking. So come join us here for the Rebel Planet at spacedoutradio.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, we're going to stick with the paranormal. Stephanie Burke is going to join us. You probably know her from a few different paranormal television shows. She is going to be with us almost all night long tomorrow night. So it's going to be a lot of fun starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, and you can also connect with us at the Fringe FM. Go to thefringe.fm or download the free Fringe FM app for your phone so you can listen to us there as well. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Paresthesia. Paresthesia is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio, Facebook. Give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. We're all over social media. You can also find us on periscope.tv/Spaced Out Radio every Monday through Friday night. And if you want to connect with our archive, see about the shows that we've done in the past, maybe listen to them, what you do is you go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. We're right there. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. Now, if you head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the Encounter online, dealing with all things paranormal, strange, and odd. My latest blog is there as well as you can watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. Paranormal author Alan Wright is with us tonight. He's going to go with us right until the Thought of the Dave, which is always exciting. We got some great responses today. And Alan has 4 books out. His latest, My Destination for the Truth. Alan, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
What is the truth, my friend?
I'm still seeking it. Well, I think the truth is what I've been told so far, and probably fill up a fairly large book. But we were talking during the break, and in my Destination for the Truth book, I have a chapter in there about spirits being different ages. And, we touched upon briefly about a pre-existence. And in this pre-existence, the spirits are getting ready to come to Earth to receive their bodies. And the way I saw it was these spirits are, just like on Earth, are educated or whatever at different speeds. And there are spirits in this pre-existence that helps these other spirits to go to Earth to receive their bodies. From what I understand, from what I was told, that usually those spirits that's helping the other spirits, are doing it to their own family line, their own family, their ancestors. They're helping their own families to go to Earth and to receive their bodies. After a while, though, that spirit is able to come to Earth to receive his or her body. Have you ever heard somebody say that they are an old spirit, or someone that has...
Yes, many times. My daughter is one. My daughter is a very old soul.
That's the way I am. My wife is an old soul. The reason for that is we had to stay behind while we helped our family line to go on ahead of us. Now, an old soul is a spirit who appreciates life. They really appreciate life, but they don't do it in a way that's going to harm the earth or the animals on the earth or the humans that's on the earth. They appreciate life in a different way. They appreciate their families and they appreciate the things that they have. An old soul will. We have a grandkid that's an old soul, And the first time we saw him, we came up the walkway, and he was doing karate chops on a bush beside the house, or I guess the church building there. He was doing karate chops on the bush there. And he's an old soul. You can tell by looking at him. He's just got a lot of knowledge and stuff in him. But I thought maybe I'd just show that out there to you guys to let you know that, like people, spirits are different ages also.
Do they still age every year? So let's say a spirit dies or a person dies at, say, the age of 30. When they go into the spiritual realm, are they 31, 32? Do they continue to have birthdays? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, not really. It's just that they're an old soul because they stay longer in the pre-existence so that their family line can come forward. That's the only thing. They don't gain age that way. It was like a figure of speech. Maybe I should have made it clearer that what they were doing was teaching the spirits that went on before them. Well, they have all this knowledge already. So when they come to Earth, they're like an old soul. They just like your daughter. You'll find them in probably animal things where they're helping animals out. You might find them in world organizations that's trying to save the whales or something. You know, that's what they do. They're very interested in the earth and trying to preserve it and trying to help it along. A lot of those people are old souls. They're special people. But they don't have birthdays where they go after they die.
So how do they age?
What, the spirits themselves?
Yes.
Well, I'm just using that as a figure of speech in the beginning, in the pre-existence. Once they die, there's no age there, and when they die, they die at a age when they were in their prime, I should say. I don't know. If you're in your prime at age 60, I guess that's how old you would be. But what they told me was they stay in the pre-existence until their family line is gone, or most of them. And somebody else comes in behind them and does the same thing. That's what I said, spirits of different ages.
Questions coming from our audience here for you. This one comes from Dawn. Do you charge for your blessings?
No, I don't. You know, I haven't made a dime off of anything I do. I haven't even made anything off my books. You know, I have to pay for the books to be published and everything. So I haven't made any money on any of it. And I don't charge. I don't feel that I should charge. It's something that was given to me free, you know.
Right.
The ability to do blessings and stuff like that, and to talk to the spirits or have them talk to me. And I don't charge for it.
Mm-hmm. Andrew on Twitter is asking, in some cultures, a finely tuned astrological knowledge is used to predict different events in one's life, including the possibility of predicting someone's death. Do you think it's a good idea to be able to know when you die, and could this make life more valuable?
Well, I know when I went to see my grandfather, I saw my own death at the beginning of this, so I know where I'm going to die. I haven't told my wife this, but I know where I'm going to die. She's going, where's this?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing, but obviously that's a little personal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can tell you, I also learned approximately when the Earth is going to end. I wasn't given a definite date, and don't go around saying Alan Wright says this and this and this. but it's going to be pretty soon. It's going to be probably within the next, I'm going to say 50, 60 years. See, the problem with it, like I said, they don't have time. So, when somebody says something's going to happen, it's more like a guesstimation.
Cog from Alaska is asking, do you believe in others standing in agreement when you give a blessing? And also, is it you doing the blessing, or do you ask the Creator to bless through you?
Well, I'm actually the Creator's blessing through me. I know this. I can feel His power. Just like when I gave that one blessing, that at the beginning of the blessing, my mind went blank. Now, who did that? Why did it happen? I know that the Creator wanted me to give the blessing that He wanted her to have. And that's what I had to learn, and that's what I did.
Where do aliens come into play with everything as you search for the truth in your book?
I believe aliens, not only do I believe, but I think the Creator, the great Creator, was basically what we would consider alien, but I think He has the same shape as we do, same form and everything. I believe that He is God, but there's other beings out there, other entities out there, aliens, that He's also ahead of. I believe there's around between 8 or 9 of these different types of aliens, or I don't know, what would you call them, entities or whatever. But He's like in charge of them too, or God of them. In the Bible it says that God cannot accept sin at all. And if He did, He would cease to be God. Why would He cease to be God? The reason why He would cease to be God is because He's set up to, it's like a council or something. These different life forms, I should say, has put Him in charge like chairman. And if He doesn't follow like the laws of nature and stuff like that, then they could pretty much vote Him out, so He would cease to be God. So that's what I take from this, and that's what I understand too. Like I said, there's about 8 or 9 different of those life forms that's out there.
Do you believe we've been visited?
Oh yes, definitely. There's no doubt in my mind that we have, and I saw a UFO one time. This was back in 1999. I took my little dog outside to relieve himself, and while he was out there sniffing around, this was about 10:30 at night, I looked up at the moon, and there was a star, a bright shining object next to it. And I thought, well, I never noticed that star before. Then I noticed that it was not twinkling. It wasn't, it just was a steady light or shining. And then all of a sudden it started moving. And that kind of shocked me. And then I thought, well, maybe it's a satellite, And as I was watching it, it was moving like it was going to move over me. And as it got in front of me, just before it started to move over me, it shot off at a right angle. I swear, a 90-degree angle. It shot off like a bullet. I mean, it was a streak. And it was gone within a second or two. And that was it. There was nothing man-made that could do something like that. Nothing. The G-forces in that turn alone would kill everybody on board. it just it's just not possible. And I know for a fact there's other life forms out there. I know they visited the Earth. They're as interested in the Earth as we are. I mean, they want to know how things are going on down here too. I almost feel like at times it's like an experiment with them. Let's give this a shot. But I know for a fact also there's been other generations or another people that's lived on this earth way before Adam and Eve. They've lived here. They've lived their lives, and then the earth was like formed to do another thing with these people, with Adam and Eve. There might have been, I don't know how many times that the earth has been populated with people, but this is not the first time. If we think we are the only individuals or life form in the universe, then we are very much wrong, because there are other life forms out there. There's been proof of that over and over again. There's places on Earth where the people that live there can barely make themselves, I don't know, they live in grass huts and everything, but just a few miles away is a stone structure that has you can't even slide a piece of paper between the joints of these megalithic things. And who created that? Who did that? And some of these things are 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 years old, way before Adam and Eve. So where did that come from? There had to be other people there. Anyway, that's all I have to say on that.
With your book, as it takes you down this road of spirituality, enlightenment, and trying to find the answers, what questions haven't you solved yet that are just ticking you off? The ones that you want the answers to, what are they?
Well, one of them is, I know there's a pre-existence, but exactly where did we come from? Did we come from the Big Bang Theory? Did we come from an alien life form? Are we spirit children of that entity? If we are, how can there be so many life forms or spirit children of this entity? That part I don't know. I have no idea. Another thing that kind of bothers me, I know there's different levels of heaven and hell, but I don't know the exact number. And I don't know what there is at the finish of this. I know we go on forever, but what if we get to the top? What is there at the end of this? Do we start making worlds ourselves? Do we start becoming like the main person that made this world? I don't know. Scientists are just now coming to the conclusion that the universe is forever. And if that's the case, that's something that our small human minds cannot wrap around. What is forever? And I don't know. I don't have answers to that, but I guess I'll have to die and find out.
Does it bug you that you don't have those answers yet? You haven't been able to find them, or the spirits you are connected with haven't been very forthcoming about that? Because, let's face it, spirits can only give us so much in conversation.
Yeah, well, the spirits that I deal with, they've died and passed on and moved through the veil. But, I don't know if they've made that process of going to wherever they're going, I don't even know if they know. Like the twin brother of what's his name, of the show host. I don't know, if he even knows, and stuff. I think those spirits would have to move into the light. That's what I did. I moved into the light. And that's where I found out a lot of things, and that's what they would have to do. The only difference is I came back and they get to stay.
Did you want to come back when you had your near-death experience?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to come back at all. I was happy there. That place, like I said, was like Earth, but that's all it was, like Earth. Everything in it was perfect. The flowers, the grass, the birds, everything in it was perfect. The colors were perfect. I wanted to stay there. I would have been happy just to die there if I had to die. I would have been happy just to stay there for the rest of eternity. It was a beautiful place. But but I guess if you move on to better things, that would even be better, wouldn't it, Dave?
No, true that. Could you take us through your near-death experience, how it came about, and what you actually saw when you crossed over? I know you said earlier that you saw the light, but obviously this is a profound experience that the majority of us have never had.
Well, like I said, I went to bed that night. I fell asleep. And almost the minute I fell asleep, I went into this dream state, if you want to call it that. And I woke up, or the next consciousness I had was I was looking down from the ceiling of this hospital room. I was up in the corner. And I was looking down at this doctor and this nurse, and they were talking about the body that was laying on a gurney there. And when I looked down, I realized that body was mine. And that kind of gave me a shock. And then all of a sudden, I started going through the ceiling and the roof. And that kind of messes you up, too, because, you can't go through solid things here, but in spirit form, you can. But anyway, I went through that ceiling and the roof, and I was up above the city. And I was looking down at the lights of the city, and I was moving. Like I said, I started gathering speed immediately. And then the next thing I saw was the earth, like I said, and it was blue and beautiful. And I couldn't figure out why it was so beautiful up there and why it was so ugly down there with the wars and the rapes and murders and everything that was going on down there that was so bad. And that's when a voice came right into my mind, and it said, the earth is fulfilling the purpose for which it was created. And if you stop and think about it, number one, the earth was created, and number two, the earth is fulfilling that purpose too. So I kind of felt that whatever went on in this earth was meant to be, and it was fulfilling that purpose. Some people feel that God is against them when they have a person die in their life or whatever. But we are to get over those things the best that we can to strengthen our spirits. That's what we have to do, strengthen our spirits so that we can go and finish on what we have to on this eternal life. Then all of a sudden I started thinking about my family. What were they going to do without me? Who was going to support him? What were they going to do? And that's when it came into my mind that they too had to do the things that I had to do to get their spirits strong, where they too could pass on and go where I was going then. And then, like I said, I kept going strong, getting stronger, faster and faster and faster. And I was in among the stars. And then I kept going faster, and the stars became white streaks. And the stars all of a sudden became black. I didn't see no more stars, no nothing. And I was traveling at a high rate of speed. And I have to admit, I was beginning to get a little bit fearful because I didn't know what this person or this entity had in mind for me at that moment. But then all of a sudden, I saw that pinpoint of light And I just kept my focus on that light, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and brighter and brighter and brighter. And then all of a sudden I started slowing down and I went into that light. And it was almost like a jolt. It's almost like hitting something that is soft, like a pillow or a marshmallow or something. But that light went straight through me, and it hit every part of my being, every part of my body. And it was love and compassion and charity and all those things. And I didn't want to leave that light. If there was a way I could stay in that light, I would have stayed there. And then, of course, I saw this being in sitting in this light, and I realized that that light was coming from him. And I call him a him because it was a male. He had a beard and he had long hair, and he had a robe, a white robe. But I couldn't get very close because I blacked out. That's when I blacked out. But then I woke up in this meadow. I had high grass, and I heard water in the background, like a creek or a stream. And I heard birds chirping in the trees. And I saw insects. And anyway, I gained my thoughts and I stood up. And that's when I stood up, I realized I was in a circle of people. And as I looked around that circle, I knew that those people were relatives that had passed on before me. They had died before me. And they were there then to greet me. But the guy that I was concentrating on was my grandfather, who was standing right in front of me. And he expressed his love to me, and he did it without moving his lips or mouth. He did it telepathy. And I did the same thing with him. And I didn't even know I could do that, but I did. I felt like I could talk with my mouth if I wanted to, but I didn't have to. And then...
Was that the first time you had experienced any sort of telepathy?
Yes. Yes, it was. This whole thing with them telling me about the earth fulfilling the purpose for which it was created, that was telepathy. Talking about my family and the spirits being strengthened and all that was telepathy. And then with my grandfather was telepathy. That whole thing there was the first time I ever had any telepathy like that. What I get now from the spirits is not like that. I don't get voices talking to me, through my mind. I get more like feelings and pictures and stuff like that. But this was totally different. Then, like I said, at the end, what I remember was the end was me walking hand in hand or next to my grandfather along this path next to the forest. And he was telling me things. And like I said, I think he was telling me that I had to improve my life even then if I wanted to come back. So and that's all I remember of that trip. But like I said, most of the intelligence, most of the knowledge that I got was after that. I get it in little bits and pieces along the way. And I know it's true. Your spirit knows when something is true, and you can tell it's true because you will get goosebumps, like goosebumps. The hair on the back of your neck will stand up on you, or you get goosebumps on your arms or something. That's your spirit letting you know that something is true. And it's like spirit to spirit type thing. And that's what was happening to me in these places where I was getting these knowledge, I would get like a little capsule of knowledge, and I would get these goosebumps and stuff. The hair would stand up on the back of my neck because I was receiving something that was, as far as I was concerned, straight from not necessarily God, but straight from the afterlife, And and I considered it almost holy, as what I said. This whole thing was a life-changing experience for me.
We only got about 10 and 11 minutes left with you tonight, Alan, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. I can hear in your voice the emotion that and the honesty that really comes through with having these types of experiences. What do you say to critics or naysayers who don't believe anything like this is actually happening and everything has a modern scientific type of explanation?
Well, all I know is, like I said, I know what I saw, and I say what I saw is true. That's all I can do. If they tell me that they don't believe in it or they think it's a bunch of bunk, then if somebody is so set in their ways and so closed-minded that they could not even consider anything like that, then you're wasting your time trying to argue with them or anything. And I usually don't. I had one friend, he'd been a friend of mine on Facebook for a long time. He told me what I was saying was straight from the devil. Now, wait a minute here, The devil didn't send me to see my grandfather. I'm sorry, Everything that I do, I don't believe the devil did it. And like I said, I believe in God and Jesus. The devil wouldn't sit here and say that. He wouldn't want me to say that. So I don't know where he got this. And the only thing that I do when I run across this, on Facebook especially, I just unfriend them, and sometimes I have to block them. And that's the only way I can deal with it, I have enough negative stuff going on in my life with the spirits that I sometimes deal with, and I just don't need it from the physical people too, So I live kind of a sheltered life. My wife and I, we really don't do a whole bunch of stuff. We stay in the house, we watch TV and stuff like that, and we do our things with the paranormal, and if we have to, we do these shows and stuff like that. But the reason why I'm doing it, I want people to know that there's things out there. I want to tell people that. I want people that think that when they die, that's the end of it. That's not true. When you die, you move on. I want people to know that they have a spirit. And when they die and they go 6 feet under in the ground, it's only their body that goes 6 foot down. Their spirit moves on. And whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, or a Hindu, whatever you are, your spirit moves on. And I was told, it's how you live your life that counts. If you do murders and rapes and robberies and all that stuff, look out. On the other side, if you love one another, like the Bible says, what did Jesus say in the book? He didn't say join a church. He didn't say, it was all love, charity, and compassion. That's all it was. Mother Teresa, a good example of something being good. And that's what I was told. Do good. Stay away from that. And you can move on. You don't have to be a devout anything. You can move on just by being good and treating each other good. Anyway, that's my preacher side.
Well, treating each other well is such a good thing. It does pay dividends in the end. You know what I'm saying? It does. It does. When you and your wife are doing your own spiritual practices, and you've mentioned a couple times here, you don't have to go to church to believe. Yet there is a lot of especially the younger generation who are exploring their own spirituality. When you get younger people coming up to you and you're having the discussions about the paranormal, you're having discussions about some of the things you've seen, how does that conversation go?
Well, first off, I have to let them know that I do believe in God. I don't necessarily believe in the organized religions. And what they have to do is get their heart straight with God. They don't have to get their heart straight with some preacher or whatever. They have to get their heart straight with God. One way would be through prayer. They could do it through reading the scriptures, the Bible, meditation. Do meditation. My wife and I, when we did meditation for that channel in there, I felt different afterwards. You know, when we're dealing with the paranormal, a lot of times I get drained. I get physically drained doing it. And that one going to hell that time, I was so drained it affected me for 2 weeks. I couldn't hardly function. And I had to do things to make it where I could shake that off, get all that negativity away from me. But you have to stay away from negativity. That's the killer part on this. Treat each other kindly. If you're married, treat each other with love. Treat your family with love. Treat your kids with love. If you love somebody, then you wouldn't talk bad to them. You wouldn't call them names and stuff like this. A lot of times anger gets the best of us, but we have to overcome things that's going to make it where we're going to be in a place that we might not want to be later on. I don't know what else to tell you. The meditation really helps. Reading the scriptures.
You did mention earlier in the show about the different levels of hell that you believe, and if you could define that would be fantastic.
Well, I know I saw about 5 or 6, but I think there was more levels than that. And you might want to call them different realms or whatever, but the one I was in, I think, was probably the least, or I should say the worst. And it was really bad. That's where that spirit was. The next level after that, after they gain some knowledge, and they gain knowledge of how to get away from some of that negativity, the hate, the anger, and stuff like this, they can move on to another level, and they work on that level. I would suggest to those evil spirits that they might take one, like anger, and just work on that, just so that they can improve upon themselves, so they can move on to another level. I've had a couple different things on hell. I moved once where it was actually I think it was just through the veil, and I was in a bad place in this veil. It was like in a town, and I was in this town with other spirits, and they were trying to get me for whatever reason. But that was the same way. I had to shake off the negativity so I could return to where I was at before. But hope people don't think I'm crazy, but I know what I saw, like I said, and everything I say is the truth there. I'm not a preacher. I don't even consider myself a godly man, but I do know that I saw a person I would consider God. But maybe it was somebody from my own family who's made it all the way to the top of the realm. I don't know. But whatever it was, this guy was all powerful. He had the light, and he let everybody know he had the light. He let me know. But he was full of love, and charity and everything.
For each of those levels of hell, was it more pain and suffering that you noticed each level, or was it, more demonic as you went down until you got to Beelzebub himself?
In the level I was in, I felt like I could run into something that was very evil. Where I was at, there was basically just shadow people and the spirits that I saw that was hiding between the buildings and stuff. But I felt that it could be very nasty at some time. That's just the feeling that I had. And I felt like I had to get out of there quickly for whatever reason. So I feel like I was probably in the worst part of hell. And it was pretty bad just where I was at. All those feelings was going through you just like it did in heaven, except these were the bad ones. And each time you move up, it gets better. So if you move up to the next level, it's a little bit less, and then less and less and less, until you get to that part where you can cross over and then start going into the good part, where I was at with my grandfather. Life is eternal. And at some point, even the ones that's in hell will be able to work themselves to a level of heaven. Whether they can make it all the way to the top or not, I don't know. But they will be in some form, in some level of heaven at some time. It might take them a long time, but they will be.
My friend, I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Dave. I really enjoyed this program. I really did.
Thank you.
I hope your listeners enjoyed me. Thank you very much for having me.
Could you, before we let you go, explain where our listeners can find your books, purchase them?
Yes. All my books, you can purchase them at Amazon.com/author/Wright Allen. And that will take you right to my books.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio. Thought of the Dave coming up next. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we post a question on social media during the day, and then we get you to respond. You, our valued listener, because we want to always include your opinion on that. It's Mr. Ron BUMBLEFOOT THAL tunes down to the Cuterebra. So today's Thought of the Dave, nice and simple, easy to understand, which reads, if you could have any mystical power, what would it be and why? I gotta tell you, my mystical power, if I were to choose one, telepathy. How much fun, or invisibility. Invisibility would be cool, but I think you could get in trouble real fast with that. But telepathy would be a very cool one, to be able just to send messages across. Imagine being back in high school or college. You could message the smart kid. Hey, what's the answer to that? A, B, C, or D? Could be total telepathic and make that happen. You'd never fail. You would never fail. Well, you better make sure that you trust the person. That's for sure. You got to make sure of trust. And, instead of a C, go to a D every now and again when you're using your HB number 2 pencil. But I think telepathy would be fun, because there is so much that can happen telepathically. From communicating with spirits, extraterrestrials, you'd really be able to define and decipher what is imagination and what is actually a telepathic message. coming on out. So that would be mine. That would totally be mine. Now, let's find out what you guys think. Prediction for Matthew. He says, I wish I had the power to predict the stock market because money, money, money. And then he puts a picture of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, which, I'm fond of because everybody's got a price, right? You got to go old school wrestling for that. It's back when it was still WWF, not just WWE. Gotta love Ted DiBiase. He had a great mullet. Feathered hair with the mullet. It was fantastic. Robin states, I would like to teleport so I don't have to drive. Yeah, especially if you live in like a metropolis, where LA, you could be in traffic for like 3-4 hours just to drive like 10 miles. It's ridiculous. Teleportation would be kind of cool too. Tim states, where women want to eat out at. I'm not sure I know what that means, Tim. I'm not sure I know what that means. I don't think we're talking about taking them out for dinner. Andy states clairvoyance, so I could become a badass detective and live out of my noir fantasy. Also, to shave off 30 extra minutes on outings looking for car keys after the wife loses them. Yes, I understand that very well. Mrs. SOR has the greatest ability to cloak things. I think that's her special gift, her special power, is cloaking items. Because when she puts things away, old Davy never sees them again. Everett says, there is not a mullet in the world that is fantastic. I beg to differ. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, had a fantastic feathered mullet. Fantastic feathered mullet. Come on, Everett. Don't be so critical. There's some great hockey hair out there. Brent states, mind control would be a fun one to have. I would have so many cool things. I would have people giving me their classic cars, houses, property, and I would help my paranormal team out, FMP, by having a lab given to me. So many things. Nothing greedy about that one, Brent. Not going to lie. Nothing greedy about that one. Mary states, I'm grateful for the intuitive skills of clairvoyance and holistic healing skill sets I already have, but to have increased healing powers to assist any other in need, animal or human, would be a grand empowerment the world so needs in its various wounds healed. That is true. Imagine if you just had the ability to throw your hands on someone and heal them. It's a little bit godly, I guess. A little bit godly. But it would be one major development for helping mankind, that is for sure. Another one for teleporting. Coral, mystical power to teleport. There are so many wonderful places on Earth I would like to see in person. Where would you teleport to? I can think of a couple of places. I'd like to go visit our Spaced Out Radio friends down in Australia. I'd like to see some of them blue whales and great white sharks. I really would. Just from a boat, big boat. Big boat. Not a little dinky thing that's about 20, 30 feet long. Nothing the length of a shark that, one little bite is going to crack open the hull. None of that. No way, man. I would love to, get in there and see some really good stuff. But, we're talking a 100-foot boat here. Steel hull. Have to be a steel hull. I saw Jaws. I saw what can happen. Now, at 100 feet, you may be in a little bit of a conundrum if Megalodon decides to show up. By the way, very difficult to try and find a guest to talk about Megalodon. Very difficult. I've been putting out the feelers on that one lately. So we're going to have to see on that. We're definitely going to have to see on that. I'd like to go to Africa. see some wild animals in their natural habitat. Elephants, lions, cheetahs, emus, gazelles, crocodiles, not getting too close to the water, hippopotamuses. Once again, you need a big boat for them. They can take down things pretty damn quick if you piss them off. Saw those videos. You know? The teleporting thing. I might have to change mine. Scott says, I already have it. To see angels all the time is amazing. That would be kind of cool. That would be very cool to be able to see like your guardian angels. Or just angels flying around. That would be cool. Bobby, who's been a guest on this show, you remember Bobby Richardson, she chimed in. She goes, absolute peaceful mind so I can access all of my own natural superpowers. I wonder if she put her wrists down if spider webs would shoot out. Could that be called a supernatural power? Everett's still ripping the mullet in the chat room. Terrible. Jeff states, I would love the power to fly so I can stop having to drive or use my legs like a chump. My arms would get tired. Power to fly would be kind of cool, though. Derek Tyler, another former guest on this show, chimed in. I'd like to have the power to mesmerize, which would cause me to turn into a 25-year-old Jimmy Page. Can I count that as a superpower? Hell yeah. Throw a Les Paul in your hands. Make it happen, man. Make it happen. Nice Gibson's Les Paul. You never go wrong with that. Jade states, the power to heal people's bodies and minds so they can be pain-free and see and feel who they really are. Once again, healing, a strong one in tonight's. Sylvia jumps in, to be able to give other people happiness in their heart. I agree with that one. It's pretty self-explanatory, that one. Adam, or Ad Gnome, of course, puts a gnome up there. He wants to go play with gnomes. Charles states the power to cause brotherly love in all of the people for all the people on earth. Why? One mankind loving all of mankind. Boy, wouldn't that be the perfect scenario? That would be fantastic. William Lawrence, light bending. I already have this power, though. You remember him just a couple of weeks ago from bentlights.com. Lance, healing to assist others. Grant jumps in. The ability to make it possible to lie or deceive for an entire decade. Complete and utter global transparency. Impossible, not possible. I should read that. The ability to make it impossible to lie or deceive for an entire decade. Complete and utter global transparency. And nobody gets the ability to evade or distort a direct question. Let the chips fall where they may. I think there is about 100 to 200,000 politicians out there who would hate that power. They would definitely veto it. And the last two. Uncle Bob, Bob Davis, X-ray vision. Do I need to say more, ladies? But the powerful one of all comes from Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. The power of the beard. I already have it. Indeed, the grayer it gets, the more power I have. What a great way to start the week. Thank you so much for joining us on Spaced Out Radio tonight. And to our guest, Alan Wright, his latest book, My Destination for the Truth. You can find that on Amazon.com, as well as his 3 other books. We want to say thank you to Alan for joining us for the first couple of hours of the show, leaving us just before the thought of the day. Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, Sons of Apollo lead guitarist as well, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Tomorrow night on the program, we stay with the paranormal. Stephanie Burke is going to join us. We're going to talk intuition. We're going to talk paranormal investigations and what it's like to be a paranormal television star. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. I want to give a large shout-out to start off the week. Everybody participating in this show in the chat rooms. Everybody listening at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be, on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. In the Spreaker chat room, you guys were jam-packed all night long. Thank you so much. We got over 1,200 messages in there tonight. Great show. Everybody on Periscope, thank you so much for joining us. And, of course, the veterans in the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. You guys rock it out. Thank you so much for helping us build up to this week. We got another great week planned for you. Hope to see you all again tomorrow night. Thank you for sharing this show, sharing our posts, spreading the word of SOR, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.